Afternoon, everybody. Welcome to this Zoom conversation. If you feel comfortable, do please put your camera on. It's much nice for us to see happy faces. We've got Linda with us already. I'm just going to drag Linda to the left so that she's, there we go. So I think we should just dive in. I'll ask the first question, which I just realized I should do. Linda, how was that for you? What's the experience? The question about, having so much energy, where does that come from with your particular passion?
Well, yeah, I get that feedback a lot. And then I guess I don't think about it. I mean, I think, I think a lot of people look for their passion in life, Chris, whereas actual fact, you're looking for your passion can be a real distraction. I believe when we find something purposeful, something that is, because man is always looking for the meaning of life, right? And when you find something that is meaningful to you, so you've been through pain, you've conquered it, you have found freedom on the other side, well, it flows out of you like a river because there's life and freedom in that. And you just want to share it with other people. There are people who are more territorial, who will kind of keep and manage their environment and their community for themselves. But actually, if you just think, you know what, there's an abundance of opportunity and in the marketplace and in the world. And the more we freely give, the more comes back to you. You're like, oh, this is a pretty cool system, actually. But it flows from finding purpose. And if you've got purpose in there, you'll become passionate about it. I wasn't passionate first, although, no, okay. I think it also has to do with some Scottish and South African blood. My late father, Braveheart, the movie, is one of my favorite movies of all time. Well, that's my dad. So there's a bit of that.
Okay. So obviously I want to dive into questions from the chat room. Again, just put the word question in uppercase so that we can find that. And James and Lucy will take over this process. I just wanted to put a little bit of a challenge into this conversation to notice if it shows up for you, and maybe a challenge for the next week, maybe today or the rest of the week. Whenever you get into conversation with someone, including conversation with yourself, the little voice in your head, notice how often you use the word but, and try having a conversation without the word but. And you may get present to how much you're making the world wrong, including yourself. It's quite extraordinary if you ban the word but from your vocabulary. And of course, for the comedians in there, I'm not referring to your ass. So although that may be a little bit of a Freudian connection there for us. So James and Lucy, I'm going to hand over to you. I may butt in should the occasion arise. But do we have any questions to dive into?
Well, if it's okay, I was going to start with one that Sam Kurd actually put in the chat on Facebook. And it was talking about, people talk about faking it till we make it, but they don't tell us how to do that. And he was wondering, Linda, if you had any tips. How do we fake it? Is there a process we can do that?
Yeah, good. Hey, Sam, how you doing? So I don't advise faking it till you make it, because nothing fake brings anything of value. At the same time, you have to look for the tools around you, right? So there's always something around you that someone before you, also who was lacking confidence and lacking high self-esteem, found and used before you. So for me, it was fashion. For me, it was personal style. I saw it as a vehicle that I saw on confident people. So I'm like, well, that's what confident people do. So I just did what they did. And it definitely positioned me, Sam. It positioned me for to be productive. It positioned me to look like the ambassador for the company that they were looking for. And although inside I was a broken woman. I had zero self-esteem and zero self-confidence, but there are tools that can help you in that right direction. So I would say two things. You need to look for the tools, whether it's, fashion or the foundation or forgive, all those things that work for you already. But you've got to start with the heart, man. Like everything is about the heart, right? You have to go to work on that, which is, why are you lacking self-confidence? Because therein, in that hole, in that heart of yours, therein lies the answer. Therein lies the call to action to do the work, and therein lies the freedom.
Thank you so much. Brilliant. I've a question to read out for Anita. And I think it refers to the conversation you and Chris were having about the meeting. And she's saying the meeting you spoke about in the session, what questions did you plan for? How do you plan for a meeting such as the one you discussed, and how do you practice?
Very good. So I can't see who that question is from, so I'm just going to answer.
Anita.
Anita, okay. Anita, I don't see you, but I'm talking to you. So I like to see the pretty face with the voice. Anyway, so this is a great question, and this is what I learned in negotiation. Everything that I spoke about earlier is connected to confidence, negotiation, opportunity, people skills. There is a profiling tool that we still do in our negotiation business called NBI, adapted from the HBDI, the Human Brain Dominance Instrument. And it's based on the profile of the brain, which is based into 4 quadrants. And when I did this profile, and Chris has done his as well, I realized this is the best meeting preparation tool I've ever come across. And I'm going to give you the 4 quadrants. And if you can write that down fast, or maybe it's on record. Most people who go in to sell, A, don't ask questions, they just pitch, and B, they don't ask the right questions, because you don't want to go from asking no questions to asking 20 questions. That's just going to be a pain in the ass, right? Or a pain in the butt or whatever. So the 4 questions that I based my meeting prep on was why, who, how, and what. So I would go into big companies, like I was a newcomer to the international marketplace and corporate, and I was selling large scale, negotiation skills training, sales and purchasing and everything. And I would say to them, why? So they would be looking for us, for example, to do negotiation training for their management teams. So my question was, why are you looking to secure this training for your company? What has motivated the need for you to procure these services? And then we'd have a chat about that, right? I would dive deep in there. So you want to nurture and probe that. Then you go to who. So who is going to be impacted both directly and indirectly through this training? And that's your staff, your peers, your management, the executive level. Who is going to be my contact, my sponsor for this between your company and mine? Who is going to be my guy, my wingman for this whole project? And who is the executive level who is signing this off? Are they going to be involved? Then I'd move over to how. So how do you see this rolling out? And that here is where you do the details, right? What are your time frames? What's your rollout process? What is your, the fine attention to detail? What are your processes here that we would need to understand in order to comply with those processes and all that kind of stuff? How do you see this taking place? And then finally, the what is the value component. Now, price is only one component of value. People think that value is price, and price is part of that. So then we talk price and we talk money, and people often, when it comes to this, Anita, they're scared of talking about money. If you need to write down, here's another really good exercise for you, and it may be for you or others. What emotion comes up when you think about the word money? Just immediately, don't go into analysis paralysis. What emotion comes up when you think about money? You can write that down. That might be very illuminating for you, because if you get to a place when you can, like I came from a really poor background, right? I had this complex. I hope they don't find out who I am. I'm selling big deals here. Shit, I hope they don't realize it's Linda from the other side of the tracks. I had to get that thinking out of my head. I had to remove that and go to work on that. And then money just became one of the things we spoke about, like these flowers. It's just money, right? It has a tool. And then when you get to stop chasing money, because when you chase money, it runs from you. But when you just get to emotionally disconnecting from it, the value component of your conversation is, okay, so what are your expectations around budget? How did you get to that number? What benchmarks have you used? Can you tell me more about that, etc.? So those were the 4 quadrants, because those are the 4 quadrants of the brain. So I had the most incredible response from people, because nobody asked those questions. So if you're going into meetings, you want to ask them about them. You want to focus on their needs, on what problem they want to solve. And you want to disconnect yourself from, maybe you are not the best person for them. When you go in with releasing yourself from that pressure, my frame, for example, would have been, Anita, it would have been, let's say I'm meeting with you. And I would have said, Anita, thanks for having our company here to present our credentials. My objective today is to understand whether or not we are the right provider for you. And to do that, I just want to ask you a few questions in the following 4 categories. Is that good? And she'd be like, yeah. And then I would just do that wheel. And I'm telling you, the response was just, my sales went through the roof. I mean, my performance and my numbers and my confidence just exploded. I hope that makes sense.
Can I just add, just from my side of what happened, just anecdotally, the first thing to mention is that when you first walked into our office, which was at the time a box, and really it was a large cupboard that I tried to make look like a real office. And so Linda comes from, the world of huge offices with glass windows, and comes into this tiny box with a broken window and sits down and says, fundamentally says, so I'm here and I'm coming to work and you're giving me this job and I'm going to start on Monday. And basically interviewed me into the position where I had no choice but to give her the job. And then Monday came around and then we did stuff. And then this opportunity came up to have a meeting for us to go and pitch a film that I was working on. And I was all, great, I'll tell them all about this film. And Linda said, no, don't tell them anything about the film. And we went in and we did exactly what Linda just described. And for 45 minutes, we just asked questions. And when I say we, I mean Linda asked questions. And at the end of the conversation, the guy said, this has been one of the best meetings I've ever had. You're clearly extremely talented. We must work together. And I'm like, we didn't say anything or tell them anything about the project. And the impact was that they thought we were brilliant. And that's a great insight into, ask people questions, ask them to talk about themselves, and they think you're talented. It's kind of like a strange thing, but we're so desperate to get the gig, to be liked, to have validation that, our work, our art, whatever we create has value. And many of us are way too connected with our art. We see our script as an expression of us and reject the script, therefore reject me. And no, it's reject the script and it's just something you did. It's not a rejection of you as a human being or as an artist. But we're very wrapped up in all of that. And yes, I did wear a jacket for that meeting. And yes, it did make a difference.
That is absolutely brilliant. Thank you. I think that's one of the best answers I've ever heard. It was superb. Thank you. Could we have Rachel? You're up next. And after Rachel, it's Eileen Wilson on colour. Okay, Rachel, are you there?
I'm there. Yeah. Hello, Linda. Wonderful talk. Oh, and I have to agree, that sales method, I used to work in oil and gas, and that worked. I sold where others couldn't using that method.
Nice.
My question's sort of related to that. I come from a background where it was male dominated. Everybody wore suits. I was an oddity being female and I didn't wear suits. What I did was I dressed smartly, dressed femininely, because that's me. But I didn't wear suits at all. And that made me stand out, but I think made me stand out in a good way because I was smart. I still look formal. Is that something that's true on the creative side? I'm known for being different, so I'm worried if I get very traditional, which a lot of the smart stuff is very conformist, I'll lose that individuality that I'm known for.
So let me answer your question with a question. Is how you're dressing working for you?
It is, yes. Yeah, I had a great reputation in the industry. It wasn't a case of torn jeans and mucky T-shirts stuff. It was formal, it was smart, but it wasn't the traditional three. I'm a bit of a hippie chick.
Cool. I love hippie. I love boho and all that kind of stuff. Listen, if it's working for you, if it's not broken, don't fix it, right?
Yeah.
I think it's always good that we can take something that's working for us and take it to the next level. So maybe get some feedback from people that you trust, that will give you honest professional feedback, not your mother or your lover or your brother.
No.
And someone who's going to say, you know what, and you might get some feedback and you go like, oh, I didn't actually know that's how I come across, because individuality is amazing. In life, we try and fit in, but guess what? Everyone else is trying to fit in, and we go into like, fit into what? There's nothing to fit into. It's just our skin, right? So if you fit in with your skin and you're dressing well and you are a good ambassador of your industry, of yourself, of your family, of your business, because we really need to be good ambassadors, good representatives of the thing that we stand for. Like, you got to ask yourself, what do I stand for? Not your personal, things, but what industry do I stand for? If the tide goes out today and they say stand up, and whatever your industry is, script writers, you need to be standing strong. You need to be easy to see in the crowd, and you need to know that someone will go like, I want to talk to her and him. And it's going to be how you present yourself. And it's an extension of yourself. So I would say, screw traditional. I mean, what is traditional anyway? Traditional is just, it's conformist is what it is. At the same time, I do call it dress to connect. If you're in an environment where there is an opportunity to connect with people, you're not going to walk into a banking environment, looking like a hippie. They're not going to take you seriously.
No.
Nor should they come into your environment, dressed like a banker, because that's just limited thinking of how am I going to connect with this person. So, and that's still being true to yourself. You be you, I be me, she be she, but always take it up a notch. Like, can I learn some more here? But if it's working, that's fantastic.
Yeah, I would adapt it as well for the part of the world I was in. For example, if I was in Southeast Asia, it would be covered arms, it would be higher necklines.
Yes.
Things. So I still adapted.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Rachel. The next question we're coming to is Eileen Wilson on colour, and then it's Patricia after that, if you can get ready. Eileen Wilson, are you there?
Yes, please. Thank you for the talk. I wondered how colour influences creativity and things, because I know in Melissa Helfer's script for E.T., if colours were in red, we followed them on the screen, and they said that colours that were maybe in light blue were more vulnerable and things like that. And I wondered how you can project yourself better through certain colours. And for our writing, if we're writing characters, if there's any specific colours that are good for helping us put in an angle to our scripts, if that makes sense.
Such a good question and such a beautiful feminine voice you have, Eileen. So listen, I'm going to give you a slightly unorthodox view on color, okay? I don't believe that anybody on the planet, I'm a style coach and I'm an image consultant, I do not have the right to say to anybody else, you can't wear that color, or you're an autumn, or you're a spring, or you're a technical spring. I mean, flip. People are still confused. There's so many rules. And a lot of those rules come from elitists, like the French aristocrat days where, so that's why, do you know about the American rule, don't wear white after Labor Day? It's ridiculous. I wore white on stage at a conference one time. I had 7 American women come to me and say, oh, you can wear white after Labor Day? I'm like, huh? Like, I don't believe in that. And it actually comes from an elitist mindset back in the day where only the elites could wear white. I'm like, okay, so I'm not going to do that. So when it comes to color, there is some science behind it, Eileen. I do think it'll behoove you to go and do a little bit of research. There's a lot of research around white, red, and blue. And obviously red being a power color, blue is considered a cooler and probably more approachable color. So it depends on, what is the motivation behind this character or this activity taking place. But at the end of the day, overall, when it comes to personal presentation, for yourself, or you have to do 2 things. You have to really understand, look at color and spend some time on it. Again, invest the time. What color moves you? I wear color to energize me. So you guys were talking about energy. I mean, I'm sweating bullets here, okay? It's beautiful Africa, sunshine. I need some bold color to keep me going. And bold things really energize me. Color, this is the first, probably, I don't wear green much, but what I found when I do, I love it. And so it's the 4th or 5th time I'm wearing this color. Hot pink energizes me. When I go and work out and I walk here, I just put my cap on and my workout kit and hot pink lipstick. So color does bring energy. And the second thing is, I always get my inspiration from creation. Have a look at the rainbow. It's not navy and brown and white, right? Like we were meant to take color and work with it and splash it and play with it and figure it out and see how it makes you feel, see how it sits on your characters. And the word of the day is play. That if you invest the time to play around with color, you will come up with something that might even surprise and energize you and help you to be even more creative.
Lovely, thank you.
Thank you very much. The next question, we're going to Patricia on how to deal with less than lovely people in your environment. Patricia, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Hi.
Hey, Patricia. Hi.
Thanks for the talk. I want to ask a specific feminine question, because I'm head of communication in a very male-dominated domain. I work in politic communications for the German parliament. It's very male-dominated. But I made the experience that women are the most powerful enemies of women. So, and lately I worked in a very toxic environment. And I want to ask how to deal with people who don't like, how you lead, how you be as a woman. I'm very self-confident. I am how I am. But I made the experience, and very many women in my environment made it too, that when you are intelligent and just doing your job and just asking the right questions, you are rejected. And how to deal with that.
So is it a female-dominated environment?
It's male-dominated but the toxic environment comes from the women.
Okay, all right. So here's the deal with women, Patricia. It particularly applies to hurt people, all right? So if a beautiful woman walks into a room well-dressed and she's, successful, and what do you think the other women do, right? They don't sing with praise, right? It's usually, I used to have a lot of people say to me, and so, sometimes we'll do, say like, oh no, here comes Linda, looking so good and making us look bad. In actual fact, in my heart, I was like, no, honey, you did it all by yourself. That's not what they mean, actually. Sometimes when you are successful and intelligent and you put yourself forward boldly, number one, it's the tall poppy syndrome, right? The tallest trees gather the most wind. So you just have to learn to get a thick skin, and you have to know that the negative response that you're getting sometimes is not a reflection of who you are. It is a reflection of who they are. But here is your Tuesday, okay? You have option A, option B. There is a very dead British poet by the name of Matthew Arnold who said, if ever there comes a time when the women of the world would come together just purely and simply for the greater good of mankind, it would be a force such as the world has never known, because women have been pitted against each other for far too long. And I'm on a mission to break down those barriers and build up bridges. There is a moment of power, Patricia, that comes to you when you get negative feedback like that. You need to ask yourself, Nelson Mandela, I don't know if you've watched the movie Invictus. It is a powerful movie. I had the privilege of working on Nelson Mandela's PR team some years ago. I met the man. He's everything and more that you read about. And on the first day of his presidential campaign, he walked out and he went for a walk, and on the headlines of the paper, it said, yeah, he's done this and he's done that, but can he run a country? And one of his security staff got so angry. He's like, you've done so much, they still question you. And he said, wait, it's a good question. It remains to be seen. I don't know. I've never done it before. So when you're getting negative feedback, Patricia, a couple of things are going on. You said just now, but I am the way that I am. I'm going to challenge you on that, okay? I'm going to challenge you, because I used to say that as well. I am not the way that I am. I am always growing, ever evolving, and I'm able to change like that if I so choose. So you need to ask yourself, are you giving generously into those women, into their lives? Are you edifying them? When they walk in, do you say, oh my gosh, I love your shoes, or where did you get that skirt, or whatever? Are you giving? Because the law says if you continuously, consistently, trustworthily give, eventually it's going to start opening bridges. It's going to start opening the flow for you. But if you're like, well, I am what I am, and you like it or leave it, especially if you're a strong character, you're going to be seen as a threat. You're going to be seen as intimidating, even though you don't intend it. When it comes to communication, your intention doesn't mean anything. You might intend to be a successful, helpful, approachable woman, but it's your perception that counts. So you need to understand, how are they perceiving you? How are they receiving you? How do they experience you? They might be experiencing you as the biatch in the office. You got to figure that out. And so it's going to take a courageous and humble woman that I know that you are, Patricia, to ask them feedback. Be discerning about that. Timing is important, but that's what's important is, how am I being perceived? How am I being received? Do that, because and also you have that beautiful German background, which is very strong, right? It's demanding, straightforward. I've got lots of German friends that I love.
Yeah, but actually I do that. I'm a very kind person. I try to be all the time, because I believe when I give, I get. So most of the time it works. But sadly, in this environment, it doesn't work. What you just said, it doesn't work. It doesn't come back. It's like a facade.
No, I don't agree with that. That's not possible. You can't have some human beings in some environments where it works, and the spiritual law of a human being works in other environments, right? So the one thing that doesn't change the world over after generation, one thing is human nature. Human nature is the most reliable, predictable, dependable source of information on the planet. So it will work in every single environment. In some environments, it's going to take a little bit longer, right? Because everybody's different. And so in this environment, again, you're talking about your intention. You try to be kind. Are they experiencing you as kind? Are they experiencing you as approachable? Because if there is a little bit of a barrier between you guys, guess who is here doing personal development on herself on a Saturday, and they are probably doing something different. So you now have the call to action on your leadership, on your shoulders, to say, I'm going to humble myself, because that's what raises leaders up, is humility. I'm going to humble myself, and I'm going to take a different approach that's going to get different results. And you can do that because you have an amazing, strong personality. I can see that. You have beautiful facial features already, okay? So there's already stuff that when you walk into an office, Patricia, it's going to make some women feel inferior. Now, you need to own that. You can do something amazing with that. You can build beautiful friendships with them. If you just decide there's friction, I don't know why, but I'm going to commit myself to getting to the other side of it, whatever it takes. It's going to be painful, uncomfortable, but that raises up your leadership and your trustworthiness, and that opens up doors of influence for you. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it absolutely does. Thank you. But I think it's just the environment. I quitted this job and now it's better. So sometimes
you see what you just said. Chris said, write down how many times you said but. So I said to you, is that helpful? And you said yes, but. Yeah. So and then people say, yeah. And listen, you're awesome for asking the question, because other people here will also have that question. But if you're open to saying, I don't want to have that going forward, because unless you tackle that issue, it's going to happen again. So good job for being open to seeing how you understand your perceptions versus your intentions.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Patricia.
Thank you. That was a great question and a fantastic answer. We're going to Catherine next on your loyalty question.
Hang on just one second. Can I just pop in just to make a quick observation that may help everybody in this conversation? Whenever I've done this kind of experience, one of the things that starts to happen is I start to feel a little bit uncomfortable, because I can see myself in the conversation, and that's when we need to pay attention. And it's often the thing that really struck home for me is, it may not be my fault, but it is my responsibility to make amends, to figure it out, to get through. And you know, I just resonated so much with what you were saying, Patricia, because I wanted to go to the place where I was like, yeah, but mine's different, and I am right about mine being different. And it takes some courage to go to the place and say, actually, you know, whenever there's a problem that shows up in my life, there is this one constant, which is me. And I'm not really comfortable with that, but I have to kind of accept that I'm always present when the problem is present. So if you get that result, if you get that getting that reaction in this conversation, then there may be something to explore there in a completely wonderful way. This isn't about making anybody feel bad. Sorry for butting in. I just wanted to amplify that because it really struck home with me, Patricia. And thank you for having the courage to talk about it.
Thank you, Chris. And if I just may say again, Patricia, you are on to a topic that most women deal with. A lot of my clients have started to dress down and blend into the background because of all the negative feedback that they get in business or working with other women. And when you take the strengths and the beauty that you have, beauty has a purpose, Patricia. Your beautiful sculpted face and your smile and those lips that I can see just are and that skin, everything, right? Beauty has a purpose. And when you are a bold, successful, beautiful woman, and you're kind and you're humble, you're unstoppable.
Take a bow, Patricia. That was just fantastic. Thank you so much. And thanks for the button, Chris. Just as a recap, Catherine, we're going to come to you on your question on loyalty, and then it's Giselle after that. Okay. Are you there, Catherine?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, Catherine.
Thank you so much, Chris. Thanks for that intervention. That was very, very interesting, and thank you to Linda for your talk, which I listened to. Your tools. Number 4, it's a question about loyalty. Very important, I think. You emphasize the importance of one's personal environment, plus the possible need to alter it entirely, for example, for your own, well-being, if you like. Friends. Now, this is a very tough call, because yes, there may have to be mutual forgiveness, but friendship, whether social or professional, dies really hard. So how do you rate loyalty, and how do you deal with keeping the faith in people, but at the same time kind of marginalizing yourself from their life, if you like?
So I want to make sure I understand your question. So family and friends, your environment, both business and personal. Are you saying there are personal friendships in your life that are not serving your best interest in terms of building a positive environment?
Yes, exactly. I mean, it doesn't happen to one very often, but just occasionally you feel that this person is not good for one.
Yes.
But at the same time, there's a kind of mutual history experience.
Sure. Yeah, a good question.
Friendship.
Because, and so it's a process. Some of them disappear like that, and some of them are gradual. So what you're not changing is your loyalty and love for that person, right? You're not changing that one day if they phoned you and said, I really need your help. You're not saying that you're not going to be there, and you need to love and respect and honor them still in your heart. Everything starts and ends with your heart. But what you will be changing, if your environment is not conducive to a positive, edifying, uplifting daily experience, and you identify 2 or 3 people who are maybe contributing to that, then you'll find that once you start making changes yourself, it starts with you. Once you start making changes to hanging out with a different crowd or making different decisions, then you will find that those people who are negative forces in your life, they tend to not like that. They themselves just fall away. Not because they. So let me give you an example. When I got with my coach 8 years ago, about 90% of everything had to change. And I'm not even going to go there. That's no time for that. I had a very, very, very close friend really tackle me on something. I decided to homeschool my son, who, I homeschooled him for 6 years as a result, and I'm very chuffed with that. He skipped 2 grades. He's 13. He's in grade 9. And I was the mom who thought I was going to fail him. Now, one of my closest friends tackled me, and she said, you're making the wrong decision. You're not the homeschooling kind. And I'm like, well, what does that mean exactly? You're just the whatever. And so she came against me in a very, very hurtful way. And I could either focus on that and think, shit, like that is just, I did not expect that from her. And she is, Catherine, one of the softest, sweetest, kindest, most patient people I know. So what happened was, because she didn't like what I was doing, because our kids were in the same school. So obviously there was a lot going on with her. I continued with my decisions, and I continued with the way that I knew was going to be right for us. She kind of fell away for a while. She fell away. I did not stop my loyalty to her. I did not stop my love for her. I would edify her on social media every now and again. And some years later, we reconnected. She's still in London, and she's an amazing, wonderful friend. We just kind of picked up. Now she saw the results of a few things. I think there's sometimes there's fear and there's judgment there sometimes. And I don't know what that is, right? And I felt, it may not be how she was feeling, but I felt attacked and not supported by her, which could be wrong. But anyway, I continued with my decisions, and there was less interaction. The same way when I was drinking and partying a lot, and when I stopped doing that and I started taking control of my finances, suddenly I'm not the one at the bar, at the pub paying the bill. I would just pay for mine. Normally I would pay for 2 or 3 friends. Well, guess what started happening? Those friends just kind of suddenly weirdly disappeared. So you will find when you make a decision for yourself with the right motivation, and you're not out to hurt anyone, you're not out to cut anyone off, but you may become less available because you are intentionally mentoring yourself in an environment where you want to live an amazing life. The rest of your life could be the best of your life. You'll find that yeah, absolutely. Listen, I've got my last client is 71 years old. She wants to find someone. She wants to get up, dress up. One of my clients, 67, Sue, found a man at the age of 67 and after 4 marriages. Okay, so anything is possible. But you'll find that they kind of take care of themselves without you having to manage the process. let it be, and you go do what you want to do.
Thanks very much, Linda. Thank you.
Thanks, Catherine. Linda, could I just ask you a question about negotiation? That once we're in a, we've sold a project to an editor or producer, and they come back with notes, and obviously most of the time you'll, bend over backwards to accommodate them. Do you have any advice for us how we can negotiate better to kind of sneak in what we want?
Well, you see, a couple of words you've used there are very indicative of your mindset, right? And this is what the world teaches. So you said that, of course, we'll bend over backwards to accommodate them. Why? Why would you do that? Because maybe you've been trained that the creatives are not good negotiators like the business people are, right? So that needs to just go out the window right away. The only difference between your negotiation skills and theirs is skills. The time that you've invested to skill yourself up in that area, which will boost your self-confidence and your self-esteem. So like Chris did, right? So learning the basics and the best practice negotiation tactics and techniques, he really improved that area of his life and his business. So you don't always want to bend over backwards to accommodate people, because accommodating means, well, I want to meet all your needs and none of mine. So you need to step away from that mindset and just think, well, first of all, how do you regard negotiation? What is negotiation to you, Lucy? Let me ask you that.
I think for me, it's a win-win, so that both parties leave the discussion happy with the way the project's going forward.
And is it a meeting? Like, what is it?
In this particular case, it's a publishing contract, and they've just changed the brief, basically. And I've done a huge amount of research and got an enormous amount of feedback. And they suddenly want to change it to something quite trite. And it's like, okay, but I would quite like my name taken off that project if you're going to change it that much. So she's great. I mean, she's a lovely editor. So it's not.
So negotiation, one of the things that I love when my husband started his business almost 20 years ago, is the erroneous assumption and understanding of negotiation is that it's a meeting, it's a once-off event, or it's maybe 2 or 3 meetings. When the truth about negotiation is that it's an ongoing process. When your first point of contact is part of the negotiation, the telephone call, the email, all these points of contact are actually part of the negotiation process, which means that you need to learn the skills of, well, how do I manage my concessions? Am I going to mention price first, or do they mention price first? So it really is a matter of understanding the best practice basics. Chris went on a course when we were still in London, and he did that, and he was like, I saw his response. He's like, man, the stuff it's basic, but we don't know it, right? And so there shouldn't be this divide that sometimes is assumed between creative and business, because you're in business, right? So you're in business. And so when you learn that there is something called framing, how you frame something, how you anchor something, can completely center the meeting around the terms that you want. You need to expect and not be surprised when they change the terms, because that's just basic negotiation. Negotiation is like money. If you can divorce your feelings from it being intimidating, negative, stressful, and all those things, because if that's how you perceive it, you're going to receive it that way, right? That's going to be your reality. Negotiation is just a form of communication that have got some amazing power tools that if you understand what they are, I'm telling you, the guys that the only difference between you and them is they have been trained in it, because they know it can make them money. So don't be surprised with that. And then you need to explore, why are they asking for those changes? When did that come about, and what is the value, and so on. So you don't want to just bend over backwards, and because that's positional. They're saying, well, we want to make a change, and you go, well, fine, but I want my name off. So no, tell me about the changes. When did this come up? How did it come about? You need to dive in and explore that.
Brilliant. I will do that, and I'll do a quick course over the weekend. Thank you. Giselle, we're coming to you on your question, and Mel, if you get ready after that.
Okay, I'm here. Hi, Linda. Oh, what's happened? Can you hear me?
I can't hear anyone, but I think Giselle, I can see you waving, but I can't hear you.
Okay, let me just see if I'm not muted. Is it your end?
No, it's your end, Giselle. Your mic is down. Should we just skip on to the next one? See if you can turn your mic up while we get to the bottom of that.
Mel, can we go to you and your question about feeling isolated?
Yeah.
Mel Evans.
Hi, Linda.
Hey, Mel.
So I started a job a couple of years ago, and until this point, I'd always been pretty confident in myself and my abilities. the job was pretty challenging, and the team I joined sort of made me feel extremely isolated, which had a big effect on my confidence, and I wasn't doing as well as I wanted because there were so many new challenges. So it really kind of knocked me. Like I started having panic attacks for a while, which I never thought that I'd be someone that would be affected by that. And things are a lot better now. Like I'm in a different team that I really like, but it has kind of left me with this sort of hangover where I feel like when I meet new people that I feel more like I expect them to maybe not like me or respond to me negatively because that team did when I joined, and I felt like no one was kind of on my side or was with me. So I don't know how to kind of just basically drop that baggage so that it doesn't impact me with pitches and, you know, just in everyday situations where I'm meeting people. Really
good one, Mel. So question, do you believe you have a spirit of power?
Yeah, definitely. I'm extremely determined, and I don't let anything stop me. And maybe that was what kind of put them off me to start with, because I kind of came in all guns blazing, and maybe it was a bit too much for people. But then I kind of went the other way and sort of became silent because people.
So I'm going to challenge you. Okay, you ready for me?
Yeah.
Thank you for your question, by the way, because many people deal with this. You said in the beginning that they made me feel isolated. Do they have power over you, Mel?
Well, I mean, I felt like it got to a point where I did feel like.
Okay, I'm going to stop you there. There's your answer. You do believe that they have power over you. Your answer is either yes or no. You do believe in your mind and your heart that they have power over you, which is why you felt like they made you feel isolated. They made you feel unwanted. They made you. No one can make you feel anything, right? Who's in control of you?
Mm-hmm. Me.
What was that?
Me.
One more time. Listen, I'm having fun with you. I'm having fun with you. Mel, do not outsource your feelings, your decisions, your power, your courage to anybody on the planet. Do not either apologize for your bold, strong personality or your all guns blazing passion. Mm-hmm. We need that in this world. As long as you're not hurting someone, as long as you are working hard to understand the environment and how they're receiving you, and you're working on yourself and you're improving your people skills all the time, you have a spirit of power. No one can make you feel or do anything. And so you might have had an experience in that environment where you didn't know much about how you were being perceived. You didn't know enough about the people and how to connect with them. That's just all people skills. Yeah. A lot of these things come down to people skills, confidence, and the opportunity to negotiate and to open doors and opportunities. When you work on your people skills and you work more on that than anything else, you will become massively successful. You'll become influential. You'll become magnetic, and you won't feel like they've isolated you. Mm-hmm. So, but it begins here, Mel, because how you answered my question was, well, they're like, no, the answer is no. Nobody has power over you. No one can control you. Therefore, you decide how you must validate those feelings because how you had an experience, but check them out, dive deep. As long as we don't blame somebody else for how we felt, because that happens in marriage, right? It happens in relationships. Then you take full control of what happened there, own it, get your work on it. If you need to grieve some of the pain from it, because that's really important. And you guys, I mean, you guys have got Chris, who's very, very good at that. It's just understanding stuff like that, and there's stuff that goes on the inside, really manifests on the outside. Then go to work on that, deal with it, put it aside, and do not carry it into your next chapter. No one can make you feel anything. So don't outsource your power. Look at who you are as a woman. Seriously, in the mirror, look at who you are as a woman. Bold, beautiful, that ivory, gorgeous, Irish-looking skin and long dark hair. Put a dash of bold red lipstick on, you're good to go.
Thank you.
Linda, can I just drop in there? Mel, you said something right at the beginning. You said you went in with very energetic and big ideas. What was the reaction to that when you did that? When you went in with that new energy?
People just, I don't know, I felt like everybody was very different to who I was. And we even did personality tests, and mine always came out completely different to everyone else's. and so I felt like there was this rejection of me being different. So I went from kind of being bold, but when people didn't respond to that positively, I kind of shrunk into myself more.
Right. So when you went in all bold, were you challenging them to raise their standards?
I guess in a way, yeah.
So what happens when you go in and challenge a bunch of people who are very happy doing what they do, and you come in and say, hang on a minute, let's all get a bit better?
Yeah.
What's their reaction going to be?
Yeah, it's going to be negative, isn't it?
Right. So what's the reaction to that is go in roaring like a fucking lioness.
Yeah.
Like say, come on and lead. That's your opportunity to become the leader instead of the follower. So you accidentally let them become a follower when in fact you actually had an open door to become the leader. And that doesn't mean it's easy. It doesn't mean you even want it necessarily. But life was giving you that opportunity in that moment.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
So just be yourself and just amp yourself up on steroids and just go for it. And they'll follow, I guarantee it. There'll be some fighters, but that's okay.
We do. Thanks, Chris.
You're very welcome. Be awesome.
Thanks, Chris. Giselle, we've only got about 4 minutes, so we're going to come to you next, if that's okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Go for
Oh,
Giselle.
fantastic. Hi, Linda.
Hi.
Hi. I was on the May, when you spoke in May, and it was a great influence on me. I jumped on your husband's negotiation course, and I did have a sales background, but it was absolutely brilliant. So if anybody's wanting to do it, it's just been a great eye-opener, even with writing characters or with me writing scripts, or if I'm thinking about producing, or if I'm just talking to my daughter, it's affecting how I speak to people. But there's one member of my family that I always get into trouble with because of my tone. And I don't know whether it's I get so involved and sort of, she's my younger sister, so maybe big sister tone comes out. But I just wondered if you had any tips on tone. I know there's some of it on the course, but I wonder if that would be helpful for anyone else to hear as well.
What's the issue? Is she saying she doesn't like your tone?
Yes, straight out.
And how have you responded?
I have a conversation with her, and I'll be feeling all comfortable in what I'm saying. I think we're on the same page. It might be an emotional issue, a family issue, or something like that. And then I can hear her bristling. And I said, what's going on? I was just saying so and so and so and so. Well, it's not what you're saying, it's your tone, is what she's saying.
Okay. Well, I mean, there's no science to this, right? There's a lot of caveats and characteristics and history there with your sister, right? So yeah, the relationship dynamics are to be taken into account. But a couple of things is, have you, when she says, well, your tone, have you probed and asked questions? What do you mean? Can you give me an example? How does it make you feel? Have you done any of that?
Yes, a few years ago, and I thought we'd got to a certain place, but then recently it came up again about my tone.
Okay, next question. Are you taking the older sister telling you what to do tone, perhaps, sometimes?
I don't think so. I think I get involved with a topic, and I am opinionated, I am bold, I am all of those things that you said. So I might be more declarative perhaps than I should be.
Yeah. I'm going to take that as a yes, Giselle. I'm going to take that as a yes. You are. I'm the character of I am bold, I get involved, I'm saying this. I'm going to suggest, Giselle, that you go to her out of your own heart and say, I want to just have a conversation. Can I buy you a cup of coffee or lunch? And I want to ask, how can I improve my tone that's going to make us closer? A lot of people see this as a weakness. A lot of people see this as soft, piddly stuff. You know what? This is powerful life skills that if you honor people and if you say, what small thing can I do to really improve our relationship? Then you know what? It just expands your influence. It expands your everything. And she will be respectful and appreciative of that. And she's just
Linda, I'm really, really sorry, but we run over. I'm so sorry. That was such a great answer. Guys, can we just do a very quick thank you? And I'm so sorry. We are just getting messages saying we have to end. That was just awesome.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much.
Just before we end, Linda, we're cut off mid-riff here. So can we bring you back? Can we have another more of Linda?
Yeah, give me how much time do you want?
Not today, another time. We'll sometime off in the future, one day, someday.
Absolutely.
Great. Okay, so watch out for an email from me. We'll pick up this conversation and we'll have no end time to it. Fabulous. Thank you, Linda. You've been awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Applause.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.